So, about a month ago, I had a significant bout of depression. Not for any particular reason, really. For me, it always comes and goes, and while I'm mostly fine now, I know someday it'll come back to haunt my ass. Though in saying all that, I'm not here to berate you about my problems. Chances are, if you're watching this video, then you're more than likely had to deal with it yourself. You might even be dealing with it right now. An unfortunate consequence of being a human and, well, existing is that
sometimes life just punch you in the balls.
Our natural impulse during these trying times is to seek out sources of entertainment, relaxation and comfort. Of course it won't fix the problem, but anything that can lessen the burden is always helpful. Seldom is there a simple fix or solution that can just vanish all your problems away. I mean, I wish. But unfortunately there isn't, so you might as well make your road to recovery as smooth as possible. That's where film comes in. After my depressive episode, I reflected on the kinds of films I like to watch in order to just improve my mood. Films that make the experience at least slightly more tolerable. Broadly speaking, movies are just a really powerful form of audience engagement. I mean, you can't just put a podcast or a YouTube video on while watching. It's a form of entertainment that demands your complete attention all the way through. So when a film ticks all the right boxes, and you weren't raised on an iPad, the positive mental impact can be felt twice as much. As for what kind of film you might want to watch during tough times, I mean, that varies on a case-by-case basis. I have a friend that watches nothing but the Chucky franchise when he feels like crap. I mean, fair enough. There's probably at least one person out there who sits down and relaxes, puts their mind at ease by perusing 50 Shades. Fair enough. But in all seriousness, I think we can generally agree on some select traits most of us seek out in a film when feeling down in the dumps. I've narrowed it down to 3 pretty broad but generally agreed upon traits, and in this video I want to cover these kind of movies, how they might help ease your struggle, and my personal recommendations for each category. And hey, if this video actually does gain any traction, which isn't too common these days, I'll admit, then I also want this video to serve a dual purpose of creating a warm, welcoming and safe environment for you to talk about the films that help ease your struggle through mentally strenuous periods of time. Anyways, let's get into it, why don't we? One of the most common symptoms of depression is an overwhelming and overbearing sense of loneliness. A nagging thought inside your head hammering home the idea that nobody cares about you, even when that's far from the case. Whenever these thoughts start swirling around your brain, it's helpful to reconnect with who we were via a healthy dose of nostalgia. As we grow older, our tastes age with us, but it's always a welcome change of pace to go back to the films we watched when we were kids to reminisce on beloved childhood memories. You see, I find that watching those kind of films is relaxing, not just because of the movie itself, but because a rewatch usually comes packaged with the pleasant past experience outside of it. Maybe you remember getting a copy of said film for your birthday or Christmas and then watching it the same day. Maybe you saw it in theatres with friends and family, or you might just reflect on events that took place in general during your youth. I'm just spitballing here, but you get the point. As an added bonus, it's also, at least for me anyways, a fun exercise in seeing just how crap your tastes were when you were young. Last week I rewatched Ghost Rider and that movie just freaking sucks. But I don't know, man, I can't help but enjoy it every time I see it. The romance is poorly done, the villains are corny, and the acting is mostly swing and a miss, but damn if I don't love it all, okay? It's a film that makes me comfortable, and that's what matters most. I think there's inherent value in comfort films, regardless of quality, because of the positive mental impact they can have on the viewer. I said I was going to give some recommendations, which I still plan to do, but really what triggers those fuzzy and warm nostalgic feelings differs from person to person. However, in saying that, there are films that can inspire a sense of warmth and familiarity, even if you didn't watch them when you were young. Some examples that come to mind are Breakfast Club, E.T. and Gamera the Brave. A deep cut example, that one, but I feel like the Gamera franchise is really good at capturing that sort of childlike whimsy, which is what makes those movies so heartwarming. But of course, the definitive example of nostalgia in movie form is none other than My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, come on. In my opinion, it's the best Studio Ghibli movie to date. No other film has captured what it's like being a kid better than this movie. It's an hour and a half of pure distilled comfort, delivering positivity on all fronts, no 3-act structure required. Combine that with some gorgeous animation and boom, you've got peak. I know we like to easily dismiss movies targeted towards kids or ones that are viewed more positively through nostalgia goggles. However, like I said earlier, there's value in those forms of entertainment. Value that shouldn't be completely disregarded, at least on a personal level. Any movie that can bring about some form of solace, comfort or joy or what have you is a movie worth watching. Moving on. This next trait is the most obvious one that you probably guessed as soon as I mentioned traits in the first place. Still, it's worth talking about, especially when tough times can damage your outlook on yourself and the future ahead of you. With depression comes lack of motivation. Sometimes it can feel like a Herculean task to do something as simple as writing an email, sending a text, hell even getting off your ass in the morning. And it's no surprise when your brain is constantly sending negative feedback loops. That negative reinforcement can feel overwhelming, which is why it's integral to counteract it with some optimism and hopeful messaging. Something movies often deliver in spades. As pretentious as it sounds, emotions are pretty contagious. Whenever we see another person exhibiting happiness, hope, or sadness and nihilism, we sometimes instinctively feel the same way out of empathic connection. What makes movies so powerful is the fact that we see a character's entire journey for at least 90 minutes. The optimism doesn't just spawn out of nowhere. Getting to that point involves struggle and hardship that's ultimately worth it in the end. Like how My Neighbor Totoro was nostalgia incarnate, Forrest Gump is pretty much the most optimistic movie of all time, and it's not hard to see why. Forrest is so hopeful to the point that everyone around him is bewildered by it. And that movie takes place in the US. I mean, to be honest, mans wouldn't last 2 minutes here in the UK. Being miserable here pretty much comes with the territory. But okay, with that aside, there are a few examples worth mentioning that embody optimism just as effectively. Christopher Robin is one of them. Taking the famous Winnie the Pooh characters and placing them in a real-life setting, the film covers themes of growing up, parenthood, monotony, and enjoying the simpler things in life. It's a fantastic feel-good movie that I honestly could have included in the nostalgia section, but the overall hopeful message that the film delivers edge it out into this section, even if it does go about it in an exaggerated manner. Maybe this is just recency bias, but Ultraman Rising is another great example of optimism. An animated movie based on the famous Japanese tokusatsu franchise, but geared towards Western audiences. It covers similar themes of parenthood and such, but especially emphasises the responsibility that comes with it. Overall, an extremely heartwarming and gorgeously animated affair that's criminally overlooked. Seriously, it deserves more attention. Go watch it. It's great. For the final trait, last but certainly not least, we have good old-fashioned chaos. I'm talking guns, explosions, violence, just non-stop action set pieces. You get the idea. It doesn't take a genius to explain why over-the-top glorified destruction can actually result in positive mental health. Depression can leave us feeling pissed off, frustrated and disenfranchised with both the world and the people in it, all of which accumulates into more and more stress. If you've ever heard people suffering from depression claiming they feel heavier than normal, that's probably why. A dangerous amount of stress can have damning impacts if not addressed, and nothing seems to offer more relief than watching people beat the crap out of each other, or seeing X thing go boom. For starters, it's not really a mentally demanding activity. You don't have to engage with action and destruction on a critical level. Rather, it can feel much more relieving to just soak in the glory of a chaotic scene. Plus, a good action movie will do wonders at building suspense, tension and excitement, hopefully leading towards a satisfying payoff. It's a great way to blow off steam and temporarily deal with any immediate stress and frustration. There's countless godlike non-stop action movies out there. However, my two absolute favourite picks, especially when it comes to reveling in destruction above all else, would have to be Fast and Furious 7 and Godzilla Final Wars. For some reason I legit can't go one video without mentioning him. I don't know why. It's a serious problem. Both of these movies have insane action set pieces. They're films which, sure, you could read more into them, but you can also just forego all that and lose yourself to the spectacle if you wanted to. I remember watching the cargo plane scene in Furious 7 for the first time and just being in awe. My eyes glued to the screen the entire time, unwavering. And boy oh boy, Final Wars, man. Where do I even start? That movie tries to have a narrative for about 5 minutes at the start of the movie and almost completely pushes it to the wayside in favour of over an hour's worth of insanity. It's a hard to find film, but a damn fine watch that I would strongly recommend, especially if you're into kaiju stuff. I don't know why, but for some reason liking movies that emphasise visual overload and stimulation to the max has come under scrutiny in recent years, which has always been bizarre to me. If a movie does action, violence and destruction well, then it should be lauded, no? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. The point is that action and chaos go a long way in helping us blow off some of that steam, which can become too much to bear during tough times. But yeah, those are the 3 traits I look for in movies whenever I'm feeling under the weather, to say the least. I tried to keep it as broad as possible, but I know I definitely left out a lot of different types of films, of which I'm willing to bet people use to put their minds at ease. If there's a trait, genre, or just movie in general that I didn't mention in this video, then feel free to comment down below. Depression is a horrible affliction that can sometimes feel way too heavy to bear, which is why I feel it's helpful to reflect on the movies and media in general that can aid us on the road to recovery by providing a temporary escape from terrible circumstances. If you're feeling depressed, I'm sorry, and I wish you the very best. Know that you're not the only one struggling with these thoughts. There are people and resources out there that can help ease your situation. It may not seem like it right now, but things can and will get better in due time. With that being said, that's all I have to say for this video. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, subscribe for more quality content, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.